In a surprise turn of events, STR Master Roshi is coming to global. But should you summon? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are taking a look at the last of the unsynced Dokkan Festival exclusives that will be coming to Global Dokkan as we prepare to catch things up and fully sync the versions with all releases. This guy is being squeezed in the last half of the October celebration, and with that comes with certain implications. So we're going to talk about whether or not you should summon for this guy here. Now, as always, when we make our determination, we'll be looking at three major factors. Number one, the character. Right? How good is the character, and does a summon for him justify? As well as we'll look at his banner, who's on the banner, what changes there might be, and would a summon on that banner be worth your dragon stones? And then finally, we will take a look at what lies ahead. We are entering unknown territory here on both Global and JP Dokkan. No idea what lies ahead, but we can make some pretty good guesses and figure out whether or not our time is going to be worth it if we decide to summon on here. What might be given up in the near future. So first things first, let's go ahead and let's start off with the unit itself. So Master Roshi is a Peppy Gals, key 3, HP attack defense 200%, 2 Peppy Gals, right? So he's the only Dokkan Fest with a 200% lead straight. And it's also for a category he's not on, right? So he's not on the Peppy Gals category. So if you are running Peppy Gal's unit under him, you need to have a friend unit who is more than likely another Roshi in order to make this work. Or at least, I mean, most of it'll be hard, right, if you use other leaders, especially if you're using non-Earthbred fighter Peppy Gals. So just throwing that out there. He also leads Turtle School and DB Saga for key 3, HP attack defense 170%, and an additional 30% for characters who are on Bond Master Disciple and Kamehameha. This excludes the Peppy Gals, right? So you can't get 230% for the Peppy Gals. On his super attack effect, he is raising attack and defense for 1 turn and causing immense damage. He does have a unit super that can be activated if you have a Goku or Krillin attacking in the same turn, and this will stack his attack infinitely and greatly raise his defense for the turn, causing immense damage with a 70% chance to stun. He has another one that includes another unit super that does the same thing, only it's with Bulma, right? So it'll activate the Bulma animation instead, but it's doing the same thing. It's raising his attack infinitely, and greatly raising his defense with a 70% chance of stunning. His passive skill is where things get really interesting. He has an entrance animation that can be activated once only, and it reduces damage received for 7 turns from his entry turn. He also has attack and defense 150% and an additional attack and defense 150%, and launches an additional super attack when performing a super attack. So he has a guaranteed additional attack. He also gets key 3 and reduces damage received by 20% if there are 2 or more Turtle School allies on the team. He also has an additional attack and defense 82% per Peppy Gal's category attacking in the same turn. He also has an additional attack 82% and high chance of forming a critical hit when there's an ally who includes Bulma attacking in the same turn. He also gives Turtle School or Peppy Gal's allies key 2 and attack and defense 50% self-excluded. He also has an active skill that can be activated once you are below 70% or less, starting from the 3rd turn, or just straight up from the 5th turn. And it gives allies key 3 and attack defense 30%, and recovers HP 50%. So it's a really nice active skill. Gives a bonus, right, on top of buffing who he's buffing, right? So like if you have Peppy Gals or Turtle School on the team there, they're getting for that turn, they're going to be having a 70 or 80% buff right now. So when Roshi released, this is actually a crazy buff you could give some units, reviving some pretty amazing units. on the Turtle School category, right? Especially those that were like on and the DB Saga ones, like so. Think like Yamcha, or well, Yamcha isn't on Turtle School, but right, Bulma got a buff. Kid Goku got a buff. Well, Int Yamcha actually did get a buff here. I was thinking the Fizz Yamcha, but he's not on there. So, I mean, honestly, he's still pretty good, right? Floating support unit is really what you want him to be, because unless you're running a full Peppy Gals, you are missing a good chunk of his attack and defense. So he's really more about just supporting those characters. And the support he gives is really good. Although now in a post-worldwide celebration era, we have much better crazy support options, right? On the extreme side of things, we have the Broly, as well as everyone else who's supporting on that team. We have the movie 8 trio, although highly limited in who they support. I mean, it does include a pretty wide swath of units that you usually find yourself using. So, I mean, Roshi sort of falling to the wayside on that side. He himself, though, is a very good card, even in spite of this, right? Because, like I said, as a floating support unit, he's going to do enough to hold his own while extremely buffing the characters on his team, right? So if you're somebody who likes DB Saga, or you're someone who likes running Peppy Gals, he is a great leader and great support for those teams, and allows those teams to function pretty well in some of the newest content. So I'll definitely say the unit gets a plus in the summon category for the unit itself. But of course, the units don't exist in a vacuum, right? They release alongside a banner. So if you summon on Roshi's banner, what are you summoning for, right? So right now we've got one for the unit because the unit is good enough to justify a summon. Then, we got to take a look at what's on his banner. So this was his banner on JP, and I don't imagine there's going to be any major changes, right? Pretty much what you see here. Well, okay. The only major change I can see is Topo being replaced with First Form Frieza, as First Form Frieza hasn't returned yet. But they might also not, because I don't think First Form Frieza's returned on JP either. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I don't believe he has. So they could just leave this, and then both Global and JP will get First Form Frieza's return when he returns on both. So they could leave it. I don't imagine God Goku, Yamcha, or Kid Goku changing, as they are units who could fit on his leader skill. And same with Videl. Videl is getting an easy A, so there's no way she's being moved off the banner. So what you see here is basically what you're going to get. The support Bulma here is actually insanely good. So, you know, if you summoned and picked up her, you'd actually be getting a huge W right there. Now, I do want to mention there is one possibility of a change, and that is, like the addition of the AGL Trunks during the Rose campaign on JP, and adding him into First Form Frieza's banner on Global, I could very much see them swapping two of the units out to add in Coquette and Mai from the Peppy Gals banner, and just combining everything instead of having two separate banners. It's pretty unlikely, but they could do it, and especially if they include any kind of guaranteed feature discounts on this banner. But even then, I wouldn't say there's really much on this banner that justifies a summon. Topo in a vacuum, right? If you have all the things to make Topo work, he's definitely a good pickup. Yamcha and Kid Goku, they kind of got a small revival out of the Roshi, but right, they're nothing too immediately necessary. But they aren't necessarily bad pickups. God Goku, I mean, he hasn't really changed in what he's doing. He's still dodging and guarding, although, right, you know, when he misses those dodges, he can get pretty hard hit lately, but, I mean, it's not terrible. None of these are bad pickups necessarily, but they're nothing you need to go out of your way to get, especially considering they're going to be included on the New Year's step up here at the end of the year. And then same with Videl. If you picked up Videl, her easy A is actually kind of crazy. She's really, really good. However, again, Nothing you need to go out of your way to get, especially knowing that all of these guys will be included on the New Year's Step Up at the end of the year. For those that are not aware, the New Year's Step Up is a banner that you can summon on for 200 stones and do either an extreme or super class step and get a guaranteed Dokkan Festival featured at each of the steps. This year is going to be especially crazy, especially considering there may be super easy A steps, which could possibly get you some super easy A's, as well as some of these older Dokkan Festival exclusives. But knowing that that's there, and we'll talk a little more about that in a second, I don't really think there's much on the banner that's worth it. There's no major returning units from this year that you need to go out of your way to get. Topo, I mean, he's fun to use. I have a video coming out later with him against Janemba and Gogeta where, he does rock pretty good. But, I mean, if you have Tech UI or even just Beast Gohan for Superhero, you can basically run Topo's team without Topo and, have the same effect. So unless you really like Topo, there's not much on this banner you need. So can't really give a summon on that one. So we have one for the unit itself. The unit is good, but unfortunately we don't have a plus for the banner. The banner just really isn't that worth it at the moment. Now, the only thing left to consider is what lies ahead. What is coming up that we know of that we could be giving up if we decide to summon on this banner? Well, if you decide to summon, first and foremost, know that the next thing coming is the Peppy Gals banner. Now, that doesn't mean that this is necessarily should you summon, just be cognizant that it will be releasing alongside the Roshi, if not part of the Roshi banner. So you could be giving up this if you're somebody who likes to chase the Peppy Gals units. The other known thing we know is at some point this year, right, could be November, could be December, we should be seeing Jiren's banner and likely having the Int Trio replaced with Omega Shenron, or even this guy replaced with Omega Shenron here. This should be coming soon. So, I mean, it's like with the Topo thing, like Jiren here is incredibly good. He's incredibly powerful, right? He's a really good defensive unit. But like with the Topo, if you have Tech UI or the superhero team, you can run that team pretty effectively without him. But he is an incredibly powerful unit, and I know he's a pretty beloved character by many. So if you're somebody who's been waiting for this Jiren after the Tech UI celebration, it's worth noting that it's worth noting that if you summon here on Roshi's banner, you're giving up summons on this, right? Because the realistic thing is most players should be in full-on saving mode for the 10th anniversary, which we know will be shared at the end of January. So if there were any major summons you should participate in between now and then, it's probably this guy, right? He is probably one of the best units we're going to see being released between now and then. But that's pretty much it that we know of. We do know that the next Dokkan Fest will be released at the end of the month, and it will be released on both JP and Global Dokkan. That guy could be really good, so just know that, you could be giving up summons on that banner if it ends up being something you like, if you decide to summon on this before that happens. Also note that, right, sometime mid-November, around the 18th to the 22nd, we should be getting the Dragon Ball Heroes campaign. And if you're somebody who likes Dragon Ball Heroes, summoning on Roshi is stones you're giving up. And then, of course, finally, at the end of the year, we will get the New Year's Dokkan Festival step-ups, which will include 2 versions of the banner, which will allow you to summon either a super or extreme class series of summons that will net you a couple free LRs, actually. So the super class version, right, it's going to look a little something like this at the end of the year. Obviously, we'll replace some of these steps with more modern units, and I could even see like this first step being a super easy A step to include some of the various super easy A's that have occurred throughout the year. And then, of course, you'll have, guaranteed Dokkan, guaranteed yellow coin LRs. This past year was up to Bulma, I think, on the super side, and up to Boo, right? So it had the most recent yellow coin LR. So that means this year could likely see it include Ginyu and AGL Gohan. Probably not going to have the LR Gohan and Piccolo, but you never know. So the steps are really worth it, right? You pick your side and you go 200 stones all the way through. Get yourselves a guaranteed one of these characters at each step, ending with the possibility of getting a Dokkan Fest LR. So last year's step up had Cooler and the AGL duo, which means that this year's will have Vegito and Zama. So it's a pretty good deal for a lot of players, especially if they end up including a super easy A step. So just understand that summoning for Roshi is giving up possible 200 stones that you could use on that banner. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Otherwise, right, the only other thing we have coming is whatever happens for the New Year's celebration, a dual Dokkan Fest, and then, of course, the anniversary, which the realistic thing is that's where most players should be saving their stones for. We've talked about this many times before that. All right, we do know that pity will be included on those banners and that you need roughly 2,500 stones to pity a single unit during that major celebration. So in order to achieve that, you want to be entering the anniversary with roughly 1,500 stones, which if you've been saving since the end of the worldwide celebration, you will easily achieve that by the time we hit anniversary. But if you start summoning on banners like this, that's where you start to lose sight of that. So just throwing out there that every summon you do is one less step you are towards that pity in the anniversary. So it's just something you need to consider about being very careful with your stones. So unfortunately, due to that fact, I can't really recommend summoning knowing what lies ahead. So that is one in the category of summon for the character. The character is good. That is no for the banner and no for what lies ahead. So unfortunately, unless you're swimming in stones right now, I can't really recommend summoning on this banner, especially now that we know this banner likely won't have your standard pity steps like the previous Dokkan Fest had. Looking here at Proton, I'm not sure if he updated it yet for Global. Yes, he did. So if you see in Global's banner here, right, in Global's data download, there is no... there is no Dokkan Festival pity coins like there normally is, and I think there are some tickets here if I can pull these up. I do believe there are still tickets, just not the typical guaranteed featured ones. So if we pull up his stuff here, going. Where is it? Be here somewhere. All right. Well, I can't see it here, but you can see them here. There are the tickets there, but there are no Dokkan Festival coins, which means there are not going to be pity on Roshi's banner. So knowing that this is a banner that will likely not have pity, and of course, you kind of knew it wasn't going to because they didn't have it on JP. It's going to be the tough sell for this. So even for you pay-to-play, low-to-play players, be careful out there. You have the tickets, which will probably be your standard Dokkan Fest tickets, right? No guaranteed features, but no pity. So just even for pay-to-play, low-to-play players, I think this is one of those banners we just got to steer clear from, as there isn't too much in overall value, even for those types of players. So unfortunately, my overall recommendation to this is a no-go on the summon. I don't make those recommendations often, but in this case, there really isn't much incentive, especially knowing that we're getting the next big Dokkan Fest in just a couple of days after this, who could likely be better and will, of course, include pity. So just throwing that out there. Now, guys, that is it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, will you be summoning for STR Roshi? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.